You're paying for everyone's meal. You got that promotion, right? My sister announced at a $440 per person restaurant. I hadn't agreed to anything. Stop being difficult, Dad muttered. I smiled, excused myself to the restroom, and paid only for my wife and kids' meals on the way out. When the server brought the remaining $6,380 bill to their table, the moment my sister's voice cut across that five-star restaurant, I knew everything was about to change. You're paying for everyone's meal. You got that promotion, right? She didn't ask. She announced it like I'd already agreed to drop $6,000 on people who'd spent a decade calling me a nobody. I sat there, fork halfway to my mouth, staring at Rachel. My wife Emma's hand found mine under the table. My two kids stopped eating their $38 mac and cheese to watch. I didn't agree to anything, I said quietly. Stop being difficult, Dad muttered, not looking up from his $85 steak. I smiled, set down my fork, excused myself to the restroom, and on my way past the maitre, I pulled out my black card and paid for exactly 4 meals. Mine, Emma's, Sophie's, and Jake's $1,760. Then I collected my family and walked out. When the server brought the remaining $6,380 bill to their table, I was already pulling out of the parking lot. My phone started ringing 30 seconds later. I didn't answer. My name is Marcus Davidson. I'm 38 years old. I work as a mechanic at Davidson's Auto Repair. Most people in my family think I'm barely scraping by. What they don't know is that I own Davidson's Auto Repair and 3 other locations. Last year, my shops cleared $3.2 million in revenue. I take home about $480,000 annually. But sure, let's pretend I got a promotion. 3 weeks earlier, Rachel called while I was replacing a transmission. Dad's turning 65 next month. We're doing dinner. Stellino's. Saturday, the 18th. You'll be there. Not an invitation, a summons. How many people? I asked. Just family. Maybe 15. I agreed because I love my father. He'd worked hard his whole life as a union electrician. The fact that he'd always favored my older brother, Mitchell, wasn't entirely his fault. He was a product of his generation. College son equals success. Mechanic son equals disappointment. Mitchell was the golden child. Stanford MBA, corporate job in Seattle, $180,000 a year. He never let anyone forget it. Every family gathering turned into an update on Mitchell's achievements. Rachel was worse. Married a dentist, lived in a McMansion, drove a leased BMW. She loved dropping comments about helping me find jobs for someone with your skill set. The condescension was suffocating. I was the baby, the one who didn't go to college, the one who came home with oil under his fingernails. The one Dad looked at with disappointment every time Mitchell's name came up. What they didn't know. At 18, I started at Jerry's auto shop for minimum wage. By 22, Jerry sold me the business. By 30, I had 3 locations. By 35, I never told my family. Why bother? They'd already decided who I was. Showing up with financial statements wouldn't change their narrative. It would just make them resentful or start asking for money. So I kept quiet, drove my 10-year-old F-150, wore work clothes to family events, and let them believe whatever they wanted. The dinner was supposed to be just family. So I was surprised when Emma and I walked in and found 12 people. Rachel's entire in-law family included Craig's parents, his brother, cousins, people I'd met twice. Surprise. Rachel beamed. I thought it would be nice to make it a real celebration. Translation. Rachel wanted to show off and needed bodies and seats. Mitchell flew in from Seattle late, as usual, in a designer suit that probably cost more than most people's rent. Dad sat at the head of a table, looking uncomfortable. He wasn't a fancy restaurant guy, but Rachel insisted, and Mom had passed 3 years earlier, so there was no one to tell Rachel no. The evening started fine. Cocktails, appetizers, small talk. I sat between Emma and Jake, trying to enjoy family time, even though most of them barely acknowledged I existed. Dinner came ridiculously overpriced. Tiny pasta with truffle oil for $75. An 8-ounce steak for $110. My kids' mac and cheese was $38. Dessert was ordered. $25 per person chocolate soul that required 30 minutes advance notice. That's when Rachel stood up and clinked her wine glass. Before dessert, I want a toast. Dad, you deserve this celebration. Mitchell, thank you for flying out. And Marcus. She paused, smiled that smug smile. I heard you finally got that promotion to shop manager. Congratulations. So, tonight dinner's on you. The table erupted in applause. Craig's mother said, how generous. Rachel's father-in-law called across. That's a man who takes care of family. I sat very still. Emma's hand tightened on my arm. I didn't get a promotion, I said clearly. And I didn't agree to pay. Rachel laughed. Oh, Marcus, don't be modest. Mitchell told me all about it. Besides, family takes care of family, and Dad doesn't have this kind of money. Mitchell shifted, but said nothing. He hadn't told Rachel anything. She'd made it up. Stop being difficult, Dad muttered. It's a nice gesture. Your mother would have wanted this. There it was. Mom's memory weaponized to make me comply. I looked around. 12 people staring at me, expectantly. Strangers. None had ever asked how I was doing or what my life was like, but they were happy to eat $85 steaks on my supposed promotion. I smiled. Excuse me, I need to use the restroom. Emma stood too. Kids, get your jackets. Marcus, Rachel started. Restroom, I repeated. I'll be right back. I walked straight to the mattress podium. I need to split a check, I said quietly. Of course, sir. Davidson party. I need to pay for 4 meals. My wife, 2 children, and myself. She pulled up the system. That would be $1,760, including tax and service charge. Before I continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single comment, and it truly means the world to me. Thank you for your support. Now back to the story. I pulled out my wallet. Not the beat-up one I carried to family events. The slim metal one with my black card. American Express Centurion. $5,000 annual fee. No spending limit. The mattress eyes widened slightly. Very good, sir. And the remaining meals? They'll handle that themselves. Please bring them their check after dessert. Understood. Would you like me to add gratuity to your portion? Add 25%. Your transaction is complete. Thank you, sir. I collected Emma and the kids and walked out. It was 8:47 p.m. on a Saturday in October. Cool air, clear sky. Emma was trying not to smile. You actually did it. They shouldn't have assumed. What do you think they'll do? Probably call Mitchell. Eventually, someone pays the bill. Not my problem. Jake, who is 10, said, Aunt Rachel's going to be really mad. Aunt Rachel volunteered someone else's money without asking. That's a good lesson. Never do that. Sophie 8 said, but it was Grandpa's birthday. I know, honey. I bought Grandpa a present. It's in my truck. We'll drop it off tomorrow. When people aren't yelling. Tonight was never about his birthday. It was about Aunt Rachel showing off. We drove home. Emma put the kids to bed. I sat in my garage and waited for the phone to ring. 14 minutes. Rachel, of course. I let it go to voicemail. Lots of shouting about embarrassment and family and how could I do this. Then Mitchell called. More controlled, but just as accusatory. Marcus, I don't know what game you're playing, but you need to apologize. This is unacceptable. We're family. The irony of Mitchell lecturing me about family loyalty was beautiful. Dad called last. Son, I don't understand what happened. Rachel's upset. Mitchell had to put the bill on his card. Call me. I didn't call any of them. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up my business accounts. Davidson's auto repair wasn't just profitable, it was thriving. My accountant was already suggesting franchising opportunities. I'd built all this with zero help from my family. Zero recognition, zero interest. The next morning, I took my kids to Dad's house to drop off his present, a vintage tool set he'd wanted for years. Cost me $1,200 and 3 months of searching. Dad answered in his robe, coffee in hand, looking exhausted. Can we talk? Kids wait in the truck. We sat in his living room. Same furniture from childhood. Same photos. Mitchell's graduation prominent. My graduation tucked in a corner. Your sister's very upset. Dad started. I imagine so. She says you embarrassed her. She embarrassed herself when she volunteered my money without asking. She thought. She assumed. She made up a story about a promotion that doesn't exist. Announced I'd pay without confirming and tried to guilt me using Mom's memory. Dad was quiet. You could have just paid. It was my birthday. Dad, that bill was $6,380. Rachel invited 12 people, half strangers, to the most expensive restaurant in the city and expected me to pay because she decided I could afford it. She didn't ask. Your family helps each other. When's the last time anyone in this family helped me? When's the last time Mitchell asked how I was doing? Dad shifted uncomfortably. Your brother and sister have busy lives. So do I. But nobody cares because I'm just a mechanic, right? Just Marcus, who couldn't hack it in college. I never said that. You didn't have to. Heavy silence. Finally, Dad said, I don't understand what you want. I want you to stop treating me like the family charity case who should be grateful for scraps. That's not. He stopped, looked at his hands. Is that really how you feel? Every single gathering, Dad. Every time Mitchell's name comes up, every time Rachel makes comments about helping me find work. Yeah, more silence. Your mother loved you, he said finally. I know. She's the only one who asked about my day, who wanted to know about my work. My voice caught. I miss her. Me too, son. I stood. Happy birthday. There's a present in the hallway. I left before he could respond. 3 weeks passed. Nobody called. I assumed they were talking about me, but being gossip subject was less painful than being ignored. Then Mitchell showed up at my shop. Tuesday afternoon, I was in the third bay when Danny stuck his head in. Boss, someone's asking for you. Mitchell stood in customer service and business casual, looking around like he'd landed on Mars. This is bigger than I expected, he said. I didn't respond. Can we talk somewhere private? I led him to my office. Modest room with a desk, family photos, window overlooking the shop floor. Mitchell sat uninvited, looked around. How many bays? 12. Why are you here? Dad told me what you said about feeling like the charity case. And I guess I never thought about it that way. He paused. But you don't exactly share much. Neither do you, unless it's to brag. He flinched. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time you asked about my life? He really looked at the office, at the framed business licenses, at the Chamber of Commerce certificate naming Davidson's Auto Small Business of the Year. You own this place. I own 4 places. Mitchell's face went through rapid expressions. Surprise, disbelief, calculation. How much? None of your business. Marcus, come on. We're brothers. We're related. Brothers care about each other's lives. You spent 15 years treating me like the family embarrassment. I didn't. He stopped. I did, didn't I? Yeah. How long have you owned these? I bought the first when I was 22. He did the math. 16 years. 16 years of family dinners where nobody asked. 16 years of you talking about your life while everyone ignored mine. Wow. He looked genuinely shaken. What's the revenue? Healthy. More than I make. Significantly. He let out a long breath. Rachel's going to lose her mind. Rachel's not going to know unless you tell her. This isn't about proving anything. This is about me running my business and living my life without being reminded I'm not good enough for the Stanford NBA crowd. That's not Mitchell. Stop. You know it's true. Long silence. I'm sorry. I really am. I never meant to make you feel invisible, but you did. Yeah, I did. He stood. This is impressive what you built. I couldn't do this. Thanks. Can we start over? Actually be brothers. I considered Mitchell wasn't malicious, just oblivious. Maybe. But it starts with treating me like an equal, not a project. Deal. He left. I went back to work. 2 weeks later, Dad called. Not to yell, just to talk. Your brother told me, he said. Told you what? About your businesses? Yep. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? Silence, then quietly. Probably not. At first. Exactly. Son, I owe you an apology. A big one. I spent years focused on Mitchell because I thought he needed more guidance. You seemed content. I thought you didn't need me the same way. I needed you to see me, Dad, to care about what I was doing. I see that now. Your mother saw it years ago. She told me I was too hard on you. I told her she was overprotective. His voice cracked. She was right. We talked for an hour, really talked about his work, mine, Mom mistakes. It wasn't a miracle cure. 15 years doesn't disappear in one conversation, but it was a start. Rachel never apologized. She sent one text. Mitchell says, you own multiple shops. Is that true? I replied, yes. She wrote back, why didn't you tell anyone? I didn't respond. 3 months later, Christmas. Rachel emailed, suggesting another expensive restaurant. I replied to everyone. Emma and I are hosting for PM. Casual kids welcome. Bring a side dish. Main course on us. Rachel's response. Hosting at your place. How many can you even fit? Fair question. She'd never been to my house. Emma and I bought the house 7 years ago. 4-bedroom craftsman in a good neighborhood. Worth about $580,000. We'd paid cash. Mitchell responded. We'll be there. What can we bring? Rachel didn't reply for 3 days. I suppose we can make it work. Christmas Eve came. House warm, decorated, smelling of prime rib. Sophie and Jake were vibrating. I'd set up a kid's table in the basement. Dad arrived first, carrying wine, looking nervous. He handed it to Emma, looked around. This is really nice, son. Thanks, Dad. You did the remodel yourself? Most of it. I'm pretty good with my hands. I smiled. He smiled back. A real one. Mitchell and Jennifer arrived with their kids. The 4 kids disappeared to the basement immediately. Rachel and Craig were last. They walked in, and I saw Rachel recalculating everything. How long have you lived here? 7 years. I didn't know you could afford this. You never asked. Dinner was good. Not perfect. I overcooked the prime rib, and Emma's gravy was lumpy, but it was real. Home cooked. After dinner, kids opened presents. Adults sat with coffee and pie. Rachel finally said what she'd held in all evening. I looked up your business online for locations. 47 employees, awards. Yep. Why didn't you tell us? The room went quiet. Because I didn't need to prove anything. My business doesn't need validation from people who decided I was a failure because I didn't go to college. That's not fair. Rachel, you spent 15 years suggesting I needed career help. You introduced me to people hiring for entry-level positions. You made comments about me finding my path, all while I was running a multi-million-dollar operation. Craig shifted. Mitchell stared at his coffee. Dad looked at his hands. Rachel's face went red. If you just told us, if I told you, you would have asked for money or investments or family discounts. The whole point was building something without any of that. Emma squeezed my hand. Rachel stood. I think we should go. They gathered coats and kids and left. After they were gone, Mitchell said, she's not wrong. We would have asked for money. I know. For what it's worth, I get it. Why you kept quiet? Dad cleared his throat. Your mother would be proud. I'm proud too. Should have said it years ago. Thanks, Dad. He stood slowly. I'm tired. Think I'll head home, but thank you. This was the best Christmas in years. After everyone left, Emma and I cleaned up. You think Rachel will come around? She asked. I don't care anymore. I spent so much energy trying to get them to see me, but I built all this. I gestured around our home without their approval. I have you, the kids, a business I love, and finally a decent relationship with Dad. That's enough. What about Mitchell? Mitchell's trying. That's more than I expected. And Rachel. Rachel will figure it out or she won't. Not my problem. Emma kissed me. I'm proud of you for walking out, for not backing down, for finally letting them see who you are. I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. And for Sophie and Jake. I want them knowing their dad doesn't take disrespect, even from family. Especially from family. That was 6 months ago. Now I'm sitting in my office watching my crew work, thinking about that night when I walked away from a $6,380 bill and a lifetime of being invisible. Rachel still doesn't talk much. Polite texts on holidays. She never apologized. That's fine. Some people need to be right more than they need relationships. Mitchell calls every few weeks. We have lunch. He asks about my business, my kids, my life. Not perfect, but real. He's learning that success looks different for different people. Dad comes for dinner monthly. He tells stories about mom, plays with the kids, asks about work. We're building something we never had. And me, I'm still just a mechanic. Still get oil under my fingernails. Still drive my F-150. Still show up at 6 a.m. But I also own 4 thriving businesses, employ 47 people, support my family comfortably, and sleep well knowing I did it my way. The world loves telling you who you should be. College degree, corporate job, corner office. But success isn't about impressing others. It's about building something you're proud of on your own terms. That restaurant bill taught me. People who truly care don't need a price tag to see your value. And people who only see you as a wallet aren't worth carrying. My grandmother used to say, a man's character isn't what he does when everyone's watching. It's what he does when he has the power to walk away. I walked away. Best decision I ever made. Author's thoughts. Look, I've thought a lot about Marcus' story since I first heard it. And here's what really gets me. What was actually happening here? Marcus wasn't some who kept the peace for too long, who suddenly snapped. He was playing chess while his family played checkers. For 16 years, he built an empire while they were busy deciding he was the family failure. That's not weakness, that's strategy. He knew if he told them about his success, Rachel would want investments. Mitchell would want business advice, and Dad would suddenly remember he had a third son. So he just didn't tell them. Genius. Honestly, Rachel's the really interesting one psychologically. She didn't invite 12 people to celebrate Dad. She invited them to perform. Look at me, the generous sister with the successful family. When Marcus walked out, he didn't just refuse to pay. He ended the performance she was staging. That's why she couldn't apologize. Apologizing would mean admitting her whole persona was fake. And Dad, classic case of, I love you but I don't see you. He wasn't evil. He was just so blinded by what success should look like that he couldn't see what it actually looked like standing right in front of him. Mitchell had the same problem. Golden child syndrome is real, and it makes you genuinely blind to your own privilege. The real lesson here's what Marcus' story taught me, and it's something I wish I'd learned earlier. Stop performing for an audience that will never clap. Marcus spent zero energy trying to prove himself to people who had already written his story. Instead, he wrote his own story, made his own money, built his own life. And when they finally pushed too far, he didn't explode. He didn't make a scene. He just left, paid his bill, walked out, let them deal with the consequences of their own assumptions. That's power. Real power isn't making people see you. It's not needing them to. The sophisticated move isn't revenge. It's removal. Marcus removed himself from unhealthy dynamic and let natural consequences do the work. Rachel wanted to look generous with someone else's money. Cool. Here's the actual bill. Mitchell wanted to keep taking Marcus for granted. Cool. Now he knows what he lost. My question for you, I'm genuinely curious about something, and I'd love your take in the comments. If you were Marcus, would you have gone back? Not to the restaurant. I mean after Mitchell apologized. After Dad finally tried. Would you have let them back in like Marcus did? Or would you have said too little, too late, and kept the distance permanent? Because here's the thing that keeps me up at night about this story. Marcus gave them a second chance. Dad and Mitchell earned it. They acknowledged, apologized, changed behavior. But was that enough? Can you really heal 15 years of being invisible with some honest conversations and monthly dinners? Or is Marcus setting himself up to be hurt again the moment things get comfortable? I don't know the answer. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe it's different for everyone. Drop your thoughts below. Have you ever walked away from family like this? Did you ever go back? Do you regret it either?